Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton. I'm here at SMTAi in Chicago, and I'm joined by Mark Ogden from ASM. Mark, always great to see you. Last time I saw you, you were at Apex, and you changed your booth concept up a little bit. You'd got almost a factory on, and you were showing people around. Tell me how that worked, and tell me what the response was.
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. So this year we decided we wanted to try and lay out the booth so it looks a little bit more like a factory, and we can represent the different workflows that happen in a factory environment. We had a self-guided tour where visitors were able to go through station by station, from incoming material through to offline setup, changeover, production run, and then final product getting shipped out the factory. And each point we basically asked a couple of questions, and these were not really top secret questions. They were little open-ended questions, but there were things like, what is the most important metric to you in your production today? We asked a couple of these things, and there's some very interesting results we got out of that group. Now, the sample size was, I think we printed out 1,000 RFID tags, and we ran out of them 2 hours before the show finished. So you could say 800 to 1,000 people, external visitors, went through. What was interesting is the metrics that they found the most important were not the traditional MTBA, mean time between assist, or MTTR, mean time to repair, because equipment is more reliable these days. People are looking at other metrics. It was overall equipment efficiency. Yeah. It was yield. These are the things that were found to be the most important metrics in a factory. And that's what we're doing at ASM. We're actually working on those topics to try and improve that for our customers.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, where did changeover come in there? I mean, we're in a high-mix environment here, but that seems to be almost everywhere now.
Changeover came in the fact that people were saying it's difficult to balance my line if I keep having different products that run in a different way, a different mix of components, a different variety of parts, that one line is supposed to run efficiently for all these different products, mixed model production. Yeah. So changeover came into the aspect of not so much the changeover, but the fact that you don't always get a balanced line at the end of it. So that was a key takeaway for me on that one.
And that's part of the overall equipment utilization metrics as well, which is really, really important. So how are you meeting the challenges that you learn about during that event?
So really, one of the key things that came out of it, overall equipment effectiveness, is really, how do I keep the line fed with material? So material management has become a really big topic for us at ASM. In fact, we've done now, I would say, 10 to 20 projects where we have put in an automated material system into our customer's environment, and it enables you to basically get visibility of all the reels in your SMT manufacturing. It gives the operator visibility about when they're about to run out of a reel, but not just when they're running out. Where do I find it? Where is my replacement reel? I talked with an external consultant, and we tried to put some metrics behind this. And we came up with the premise that it takes an average of 3 minutes to find and pull a reel. And it takes an average of 7 minutes to return it to stock, because you've got to count it back. So think of all that time. A typical assembly's got 200, 300 unique components on it. We're now counting back to stock 7 minutes per each of those 200 parts, and we're changing over. Your stockroom, in some cases, isn't even going to keep up with the line. So those are key things we have to look at now to make the industry 100% more efficient.
Yeah, and that's really critical. And when we look at Smart Factory, one of the elements that I find really interesting is you talk about families of components and the parts and how that affects the choice of what product is going down which line. But there are also so many other variables. There's the oven variable. You know, the oven needs to start at a low temperature and raise gradually. How do you deal with all those mixed voices shouting at the line management system all the time?
It's a good question. I think the way we've addressed this is we've tried to take as much information about the product offline and simulate it before we're actually running production. So for example, we now have a system that will implement known good design rules on your stencil design, your PCB design, and it will point out which areas we think you're going to have a process problem with. So things like how many solder balls are you allowed to have across an aperture? It's a known IPC rule. We program that into the system, we pull the customer's data in, and we can already see, is that stencil well designed? or is it going to have a process problem? So then that becomes a bottleneck, the quality gate, the whatever, and maybe not so much the placement throughput. On another example, it may be the throughput of the placement line. Really trying to model what's going to happen in the factory enables a customer to think this through and run it more efficiently.
Yeah, and when we look at that offline processing, almost like a digital twin model, it allows us to do all kinds of what-if scenarios. If we ramp a volume, if we change something, if we try to sneak a little job in there, it's hugely valuable.
Absolutely. I think this digital twin thing is something you'll see more of, where we try and simulate what's actually going to happen in production and then make decisions, informed, intelligent decisions based on that information that we simulated. That's really what the key is, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I don't know if you're going to be doing it at Productronica, but you were making your visitors lot size of one. They were going around the factory, providing you with data. So you had your own Industry 4.0 example working on the booth.
We did, and we'll probably be going to be doing similar things at future trade shows as well. Because a key thing for us is you want to educate the visitor at the station, but we also want to get some feedback from them and figure out what is it that's important to you. What things are keeping you awake at night? What things are you trying to improve on in your factory? And ASM's got to focus on helping customers improve those metrics. That's what we're all about.
And it's great that you're using crowdsourced data to do that. Yes. Mark, thanks very much for stopping by, and thanks for talking.
Take care.